First, news importance for Spirit, a huge update from Valve. S1MPLE is playing with Matchfixers against Matchfixers, and more matches of Blast Bounty. Hello there friends, you're watching CS2 News Hub. Without further ado, let's get straight to it. We shall start today's episode with some news from China. As a reminder, CS2 and other games, they go through Perfect World, the company responsible for localizations and moderation. Well, it turns out there's a rat inside Perfect World because someone has been unbanning well-known cheaters over and over again. One user investigated and discovered that every time this player gets banned for cheating, he is just unbanned within 12 hours. On top of that, this cheater has been even bragging about it in his profile, writing that he holds the power of God. Chinese developers caught on quickly and are already running an internal investigation to find the employee who keeps lifting the player's bans. Staying on topic of China, there's a huge scandal that has just shaken it. So it was revealed that Zacher, a player from Lynn Vision, was involved in some very questionable relationships. At one point, he was dating at least 5 different women simultaneously, including a girlfriend of his own teammate. He somehow managed to make each of these relationships look serious, but it's not even the case. The story came to light after one woman he was publicly seen with revealed everything, especially since the player contracted multiple STDs. And exactly because of the STDs, he might even go to jail. On top of that, Zacher promised monthly payments to these women, which he never did, and he pressured them into recording some adult content like videos and photos to blackmail them. And when it all surfaced, he just tried to quietly sweep it under the rug. But what's even worse is the org, Lynn Vision, knew about his behavior and turned a blind eye on him because the results were improving, you know? Now, obviously, he's reportedly on the verge of being kicked, but both the player's actions and the org's silence look extremely questionable, especially considering the STDs. Guys, we all know secrets like this always come out, and when they do, the reputational damage can be massive. This whole situation is super crazy, and even though Zacher is a good player, what he did is not cool. But before we move on to the next news, let me tell you about our great friends from CS:GO Fast. It is the oldest and most trusted website in the history of CS skin games. Feel like Gabe and stole all your luck in CS? On CS:GO Fast, you can open tons of profitable cases and finally pull out the dream skin you've always wanted. They've got a huge variety of games, including intense case battles. You can even invite a friend to try to come out on top together. My favorite mode is Upgrade, where you can always turn your skins into something extremely rare. Here you can deposit your skins instantly. Yes, even after the recent CS2 update. If you're a true CS veteran, you already know the community has trusted CS:GO Fast for years. That's why they have a loyalty system for regular users and a ranking system with the extra bonuses. And do I even need to mention their skin prices or insanely huge market? You already know it's awesome. Oh, if you don't want to deposit, no problem. You can always use the referral system to earn points. Use our promo code CS2 News Hub to get plus 10% to your deposit and a free case. The link will be in the pinned comment. Now, my friends, according to cadiaN, Astralis is the main root of all problems of Danish CS. He basically said so. According to Casper, Astralis is the main reason why Danish CS is in decline. He said that more and more young players would rather switch to Valorant, Dota, or any other game than risk ending up in Astralis. And even though he might be partially right, I just have to say this, guys. A reminder, streamers and insiders have previously claimed that Astralis's management just psychologically broke cadiaN. They left him in pieces, and now he's in a fragile state that he's just trying to recover from. In the meantime, there were also rumors about Astralis potentially selling their roster and leaving esports altogether. And, you know, many investors also said that Astralis needs to be burned down for Danish CS to be reborn. You know, problems inside Astralis have been known for a long time, but every so often the new scandals surface to remind everyone of their old sins. So guys, what do you think about Astralis? Now they are kinda looking good with Hooksy trying to re-establish everything? Or is it just a lie to cover what's really happening? I don't know, let us know in the comments below. Another IGL decided to share some interesting details. So according to Apex, one of the reasons Vitality couldn't prepare for Cologne semifinals was the game update. It basically prevented them from practicing normally or even reviewing their opponent's demos, which meant the players simply couldn't reach their usual level. Still, the Cologne setback didn't cool Vitality's ambitions down. Sure, they can no longer win 2 Intel Grand Slams in 1 year, but now their goal is to match the legendary Astralis record of 10 tournament wins in a single year, and it's still possible. What do you think? Can they actually pull it off? Speaking of ESL 1 Cologne and that Team Spirit became its champions, we just have to talk about them, because there's one storyline we need to discuss. In our previous video we told you that Spirit are probably gonna sign Tenier from Heroic and replace Zontex, and you know, HLTV confirmed it and everyone talks about it, so yeah, it's kinda like almost done. But we also need to tell you that HLTV analysts decided to go deep into what that could mean. So first of all, Zwei would have to move into more of a niko role, while Tenier will take over as the second entry. You know, his rating against tier 1 teams is significantly higher than Zwei's, and he plays with way more confidence in the big stage. Together, the duo of Zwei and Tenier could almost completely make up the absence of Magix, whose departure is still being felt. So HLTV guys say that everything's gonna be fine, but also I have to mention this. Hawka said that Spirit should have signed Tenier instead of Zwei in the first place, because Zwei is simply not on the required level yet. But surely there's context always. Heroic had repeatedly refused to sell Tenier, and until Spirit worked out the loan deal for Alcaran, they didn't really have a way to secure the Belarusian. And the second important point HLTV highlighted is firepower. With Tenier, Spirit's firepower would go from 296 to 330, considering that Vitality currently sits at 316. And even Thorin believes that with Donk on the roster, they will be just basically unstoppable. So if all the rumors are true and Tenier joins Spirit after Esports World Cup, which will end later this month, Vitality might be in real trouble very soon. Speaking of Spirit players, we already know the secret formula for them to win every single tournament possible. Just give Donk his dream map pool. Right now his go-to maps are Mirage, Dust 2, Ancient and Train. But if it were up to him, he would add Vertigo, Tuscan and Cash to complete the map pool. I mean, I get Cash, but Vertigo and Tuscan? What? An interesting choice from the young star. The only problem is that Valve really slowly rotates and updates maps. We're not likely to see that pool anytime soon. So for now, other teams still have the chance to steal wins from the Dragons. And you know what? The last time Donk was asked what his least favorite map was, he said Anubis. And like in a month or so, it was deleted from the map pool. So maybe Valve listens to him. I don't know. Cause, you know, he basically represents the new generation of players. Anyways, Shiro also shared his perfect map pool. Alongside the usual Dust, Overpass and Mirage, he would add Cobblestone, Aztec, Tuscan and Cash. Bro, Aztec, really? Okay, but who are we to judge? Friends, which maps would you add? Tell us in the comments below. By the way, pro players didn't stay silent about the latest map pool change, so among the loudest Anubis haters and Overpass enjoyers were Mezzy, Mikazi, Raz, Yuri, Sershin, Snappy, Zwei, Kerrigan, Imp Hat Device and Hooksy. FlameZ and Boomich were really happy to see Anubis go, but not so sure about the Overpass making a comeback. Meanwhile, Fallen welcomed Overpass back, but admitted he really didn't want to lose Anubis. And the only player who refused to cast a vote was Mzinho. And you know, while pros were celebrating Overpass, Valve decided to drop a surprise, the long-rumored night version of Ancient, which finally went live. Yeah, those files for night maps and weather effects had been sitting in the game for ages, but you know, we actually got one. I mean, another one. At the moment, Night Ancient is only available in casual and deathmatch, but it feels like a solid test run for the feature. Here's a few gameplay tweaks that came with it. So on A side, you can no longer see the main entrance from Temple, and on B side, no no rat wallbangs, so use your Molotovs, guys. The update also fixed some animations, for example M4A1S or butterfly knife, although about the latter I don't really know. People say it wasn't fixed, and then people say it was fixed. I don't know. It's a very expensive knife to have, so, you know, I don't even bother. Also, Valve decided to update the limited edition skin from the Armory, which will now cost 25 stars, it was 15 before. Welcome M4A1S Solitude. It was just like the XM shotgun previously, but now the same pattern applies to M4A1S, and honestly it looks pretty cool. I like it. And finally we now have the discounts on major Austin stickers. Wow. And surely after browsing the new game files, Gabe Follower said that no separate customizations will be happening. Guys, what do you think about Night Ancient, or the new skin, or the new animations, or the update overall? Tell us in the comments below. Now, Fissure just dropped another wave of invites for their next Playground event, and this time the lineup looks crazy. Joining the mix are MongolZ, FaZe, Liquid, Gamer Legion, 3D Max, and the defending champions Tyloo, as well as the earlier participants Falcons, Aurora, Furia, Virtus.pro, G2, and Astralis. You know, for context, the previous Playground event didn't exactly stack up with Tier 1 squads, and the final ended with Tyloo versus Astralis, where the Chinese roster prevailed. But now, Fissure Playground 2 looks like a solid Tier 1 event. Also, guys, we have to tell you about this. So, remember how Heroic swapped players back and forth recently? So, Blast decided to kick Heroic from their London event because Heroic lost 3 out of 5 core players, which were tied to VRS rankings. And instead of Heroic, we will see Fnatic participating. It all happened basically because of Grex, Axfloud, and Tanir. I guess this is the price of selling players for $1.5 million, or benching those you can sell. And what a CS2 News update would be without s1MPLE's adventures on the Tier 3 scene. This time he faced problems on a whole new level, matchfixing and raider hacks all over the place. In one of BCG's recent matches against Partizan, which is a team long suspected of throwing games and using special cheats, s1MPLE had to play in probably the worst environment possible. But here's the twist: BCG's current coach, Emi, was the part of Partizan until May this year, so basically that means that s1MPLE is being coached by a former Matchfixer, playing against Matchfixers. I mean, we're not accusing anyone, but you know how it works on Tier 3. Surely ESIC is silent as always, and tournament operators as well, but the community has already dug up a ton of evidence. As Overdrive perfectly put it, the scariest thing for a Tier 1 player is being forced to play at Tier 3, against raider hackers and with a raider hacker on your own team. On a brighter side, maybe this whole mess could finally bring attention to the shady Tier 3 scene. If s1MPLE makes enough noise, we might actually see changes and the cleaning, you know? But who knows? And to wrap things up before moving to Blast Bounty, here's some sad news. Sad and kinda wild because out of nowhere, Passion UA decided to disband their whole roster and rebuild a new lineup around their coach, who has ties with North America and is himself from South Africa. And here's the real twist: rumors say that they're looking to buy out Complexity, which could basically mean that Complexity's coach gets his team back and Passion UA becomes Passion USA. Question is, did they do this to cut down on regional competition, or were they just completely disappointed in their current roster? Or maybe the current roster were cheaters or match fixers, because like all of them all at once smells bad, you know? Once again, we're not pointing fingers, just asking questions. Now let's finally move to Blast Bounty land stage, which is happening in Malta. And finally, we're getting some real close matchups. So the action kicked off with a fairly easy series between MOUZ and Astralis. On Nuke, Astralis' pick. The Danes even had the lead early on, right until MOUZ got a full buy. From that point, MOUZ locked down 6 6 ramp rounds in a row, closing the half 7-5. After the switch, Astralis managed to grab the first 3 rounds, but then lost 5 in a row and dropped their own map pick. On Mirage, things got even worse for the Danes. MOUZ were in full control from the very start, closing the half 8-4, and then in the second half, Astralis didn't even get the chance to wake up, because MOUZ swept them 5-0 to seal the series 2-0. Next match, though, was way more intense. On Dust 2 Aurora's pick, the Turks started strong, taking the first 3 rounds and going up 5-2. Then, MongolZ decided to turn things around. They won 5 straight and closed the half 7-5. In the second half, Aurora responded with 6 straight, but MongolZ rallied back, chaining nearly 5 rounds themselves and eventually taking the map. So it was a really close one, and an interesting one as well. But then came Mirage, MongolZ's pick, and the script flipped. So Aurora absolutely destroyed the Mongols in the first half, winning 11 rounds in a row. 11! The Mongols barely scrapped together the last round and went into halftime 1-11. It looked like a done deal. Aurora players were happy, but you should never forget that the Mongols were the finalists of the last CS2 major. They decided to claw back, to fight back. They won 4 rounds in a row. Although Aurora got to map point, then the Mongols won 7 straight rounds and forced the OTs. And once it hit overtime, they just crushed Aurora completely and knocked them out.
3 in the first half have allowed for major grand finalists to shock us yet again, this time by nature of a comeback. Flash off of the wall, time is of the essence, and they're not giving him anything. Minimize mistakes.
A historical comeback from 1-11 to win the map. Oh my god, it was awesome, amazing. Day 2 of quarterfinals kicked off with Team Liquid versus Vitality. First up was Train, Liquid's pick, and at the start it looked like a stomp. Vitality won 9 rounds in a row. They were crushing, having a good time. They even picked up the first 2 rounds of the second half, but then Liquid woke up. The NA boys strung together 9 rounds of their own and forced overtimes. Unfortunately for Team Liquid though, in OTs, Vitality just steadied the ship and took the first map. Next was Nuke, Vitality's choice. Liquid came out swinging, taking the first 5 rounds. They looked in full control, but Vitality bounced back and tied the half. After the side switch, Vitality started strong again with 4 rounds in a row, but once Liquid had a proper buy, they answered with 6 straight and reached the map point. Still, the major champions clutched up. They dragged it into OTs, and after some back and forth, Vitality proved why they are elite. Here, guys, 2 takeaways. First, Team Liquid's shocking loss to Virtus Prodigy was just a fluke. But also, this series showed that Vitality are far from untouchable if they struggle this hard against Liquid. You know, they don't look that confident, like in the previous season. Next was an Eastern European classic, Team Spirit versus Virtus Pro. First map Ancient, Spirit's pick. The Dragons started hot with 2 rounds, but then it just collapsed. They dropped 9 in a row and lost the half badly. Virtus Pro players were kicking. But you know what? When Chopper's gang switched to CT side, it was a completely different story. Team Spirit just shut down Virtus Pro with 8 straight rounds. They got the map. VP choked badly. Then came Overpass, VP's pick, and it was a complete massacre. Spirit dominated 10-2 in the first half and then just closed it out 13-3 without breaking a sweat. VP sent packing on their own map. The first semifinal brought us MOUZ versus Spirit. For MOUZ it was a chance to get revenge for Cologne, for Spirit a chance to prove their dominance. It all kicked off on Ancient, Spirit's pick. MOUZ came out swinging, with Torj even pulling off an ace. Spirit tried to respond back with 4 rounds in a row, but it wasn't enough. The first half ended 8-4. Yim had promised that after the side switch it's gonna be an easy game, but, you know, Spirit had other plans. They clawed back 7 rounds straight. They pushed it to the map point and dragged the game into overtimes. And you know, on OTs, MOUZ just completely collapsed. So Spirit took the map. Next up was Mirage, MOUZ's pick. This time Spirit were just untouchable. They cruised the first half 10-2 and then easily closed things out in the second half. I mean, Yimp had tried to keep MOUZ afloat, but it wasn't nearly enough. This way Team Spirit became the first finalist of Blast Bounty. Although the second semifinal was a lot more interesting. First, it was a major final rematch, Vitality versus the MongolZ. For the latter, it was a matter of pride, while for the former, to build up the confidence. It all kicked off on Mirage, MongolZ's pick. Vitality started off strong, taking the first 4 rounds, but then game quickly evened out. MongolZ fought back, they traded blows, and the first half ended in a tie. After the switch, the MongolZ took control, they won 4. Vitality had a chance to turn things around, but well, 9-10 just pulled off a massive ace in a 3v5. From there, the MongolZ closed it out clean and secured their map. Next was Inferno, Vitality's pick, and it was a nightmare start. They managed only 2 rounds in the first half. Imagine, 2 rounds getting demolished by the MongolZ. Although post-halftime, Apex's squad woke up. They just got 2 quick rounds and then 7 on a streak. So the score all of a sudden was 11-11. But oh my god, guys, this is where disaster struck. Zaivu whiffed a crucial op shot, and the MongolZ punished instantly. Vitality crushed out, finishing another tournament in the 3rd-4th place, while the MongolZ are the 2nd finalists of Blast Bounty. And my guys, here's the kicker. For the first time since March 10, Vitality dropped to number 2 in the rankings. Best team in the world? No more. Maybe they're just a bit too comfortable, and if they don't wake up, their spot at the top won't last. I mean, we just explained what happens when Tnir joins Team Spirit. Vitality era is on the verge of extinction already. I guess this season will be a lot more interesting than the previous one. Guys, what do you think? Tell us in the comments below. And I'm gonna say that's all for today, my friends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, to follow the channel, and drop by in the comments below. Also hit the notification bell and do anything with the video, because it helps us develop a lot. I'm not saying goodbye for a long time, friends. See you soon.